Good morning from sacred space at Titania's realm. The time is 9:21 a.m. on the 20th of August 2025. I woke up early. I woke up at 7, which is astonishing. But it's another bleak, miserable, grey, rainy, sullen day, which is not good for my mood. I'm so lucky I don't live in the UK with all the fog and mist and rain and constant cold, because I wouldn't survive it. I wouldn't. Just a few days of this and a spiral under. It's like... we're so spoilt living in Brisbane or in Queensland in general, having most of the time warmer weather and sunshine. But it's been a cold winter this year, and it's the 20th of August when the Ekka's on, which the Ekka's a big exhibition where all the farmers come from all over Queensland and, you know, have their show animals, and it's quite lovely, but I don't go because it's expensive to get in, and I always get the flu, and I'm still recovering from some weird lurgy. So, Kermie's gone into Bo's cage. So I avoided the Ekka, but I'd missed out seeing all the lovely handicrafts, and, you know, my friend Belinda Daniel she won first prize actually for her beautiful hand-knitted, hand-spun shawls she creates. Oh, they're just stunning, stunning work. So she won first prize, and I'm hellishly proud of her, because she should win first prize, because her work is, as I said, stunning. And so anyway, so Ekka time, Ekka holiday time, or the I think it goes on for a week. Is it a week or 2 weeks? Can't remember. Everyone always gets very, very sick because it's winter and it's cold, and everyone takes their lurgies off to the Ekka, and the close proximity of crowds and sweating and snorting and sneezing, they all infest each other. It's awful. So I haven't gone. But we normally have bitter, bitter cold westerly winds that come off the western deserts. And we had them early. We had them as early as June. I thought this is going to be a cold winter. These August winds coming so early. And there's no wind. No. So I was right. It's just shifted. Its pattern, our climate has shifted 2 months out of its normal patterning. But having said that, this is the coldest winter I've experienced for a few years. It's been quite cold. Just opening up everything here. It's it's cold and it's wet. So I'm sneaking in a reading because I have a debrief, you know, after lunch time-ish, early afternoonish. So, and I always have anxiety before I have to go anywhere, not just to debriefs, but, you know, it's just the way I am. The way my brain's been reconfigured from childhood trauma and too many fucking near deaths. So I'm a bit anxious about today. I don't know why. There's no reason to be anxious. It's my wonderful psychiatrist who I've been in therapy with in October, it'll be 15 years. Well, what's there to be anxious about? It's nuts, people of Earth. Well, anyway, I had a good sleep. Slept 9 hours and 26 minutes. And I stopped breathing 0.7 times an hour. I'm not sure what 0.7 actually means, but it's a vast improvement on the night before when I was stopping breathing 1.8 times an hour, which was a backslide from the night before when I was only stopping breathing 1 times an hour. I don't know if those sleep results can be trusted, quite frankly. It's a very expensive machine, but I wonder if it's bodged somehow from Mama T being a bit of a conspiracy theorist, I wonder if it's all faked. Because I don't understand how I can backslide one night and the next night be so good. Is it me or is it a flaw with the machine? I'm starting to wonder. Anyway, I had to turn it completely off, turn the power off 2 nights ago because it kept emitting air and it shouldn't have been because it was turned off on the actual machine. So I turned the power off, and maybe that's a factor too, that it's recalibrated itself. But anyway, I feel very mentally clear today, and I feel quite good. So maybe it's correct, and I did get more oxygen in during my night. You've been very good boys, sitting side by side like friends. It's good when you're friends, isn't it? It'll be good when you're friendly to Mama T too. Yes, little Bo. Bo's a good birdie. Kermie's a good birdie too. I'm a very lucky Mama T. I really am a very lucky Mama T. So I've paid off both those cages, so I now own them outright. They're paid for, and I'm thinking about getting another larger one for little Bo to sit in outside. The only thing I worry about is it'll rust outside. His Kermie's old cage that I have outside is already rusting. It's only been out there for a few months, so it's another thing I'm worried about. And stainless steel cages, you can buy them, but they're like $2,000. I can't justify spending $2,000 for a rust-free outdoor cage. And then, of course, if people realise that it's a $2,000 cage, they might steal it too, because it's just sitting out in the backyard. So I can't decide what I'm going to do about that. I've only just paid everything off. So I'm just hesitant to spend more money. I'm just wanting to enjoy being debt-free for at least a week or two. I like buying things. I'm a spender. But I'm not a spendthrift. Like, I'm very careful with my money, really, but I just like to buy things. I just enjoy it. But anyway. But I want him to have a bigger cage than the little budgie one that he arrived in, because he sits there like this. He knows it's too small. And I know it's too small. And it'll give you a better quality of life, little Bo. You're doing all right. You're doing all right for a little cockatiel. Yes, you are. And Kermie is too. Kermie. Kermie. All right, well, anyway, let us continue with Chapter 27, Unwanted Attention. I wanted it to be the way I pictured it in my mind. It never is. Lorne Campbell. Membership in the world's largest outlaw motorcycle club attracts plenty of attention, much of it unwanted. Campbell was on the porch of his home in rural Baysville near Aurelia, about a year after the mass patch over to the Hells Angels. He was chilling out and cleaning his 30-30 hunting rifle. 30-30? 3030? I don't know how to pronounce that. 30-30, we'll go with that. Don't laugh. Don't deal with guns, do I? Never dealt with guns. It was a while there I was legally not allowed a weapon because my former husband put a bogus DVO order on me to keep me away from my business. Then ran it into the ground and went, well, he didn't go broke, but he almost did. He set me broke, the bastard. 30-30 hunting rifle. Might have come in handy, but see, this is what gets me in trouble. They take it seriously. But honestly, some people should not be stealing our oxygen out from under us. Just saying. Because they're worthless, feckless, useless. Awful people. Just awful. Beyond awful. Anyway, he was cleaning his 30-30 hunting rifle when his phone rang. Even the cop that delivered the DVO papers on me, I said to him, I don't own a gun. I don't know how to shoot a gun. I don't know how to, fire a gun. Later when I took up archery, briefly after I got my small inheritance in 2012, so it must have been early 2013, discovered that I can't shoot arrows straight and hit the bullseye or even get anywhere near the bullseye. They discovered that my left eye is dominant and I'm right-handed, and that's why I couldn't see straight to hit the target. So can you imagine? Fortunately, I never took up shooting guns because the bullets would have just gone everywhere else but where they were intended. So, and also, I don't believe in that level of violence. I can kill you with a look, though. I shouldn't brag about that. I shouldn't brag about killing people with looks. But, sometimes power in the antennae, as my father used to say. Anyway, where was I? Drifting. When his phone rang. Who are you? The caller asked. That's a bit rude, ringing someone and asking them who they are. I'm Lorne Campbell. I've got a deal for you. What are you talking about? The caller explained that he wanted to get into the illegal drug dealing business. He sounded as if he was in his early 20s, and his tone suggested he was plenty eager, if not wise, in the ways of the world. I don't do things like that, Campbell said. The caller babbled on a little longer until the conversation became too annoying for Campbell to continue. He didn't even know who was on the other end of the line. It sounded like an idiot or a setup, and neither was welcome. Where are you? Campbell asked. Get over here. Not long after that, a stranger rolled up to Campbell's home. Campbell levelled his 30-30 at him. Get out of the fucking car. The man got out of his car. Who gave you my fucking name? I'll shoot you. I will shoot you. The stranger yammered something about a woman he knew who had heard that Campbell was in the Hells Angels. Then he said again that he wanted to get into drug dealing, as if he was at a trade show, inquiring about opening a pita or donut franchise. Campbell demanded to know how the man knew where to find him. I Googled you. I'm sorry, that's hilarious. Googled me? I Googled you. The man bragged that he could find anybody's address on the internet. You're kidding, Campbell said, then kicked him off his property at gunpoint. My God, some people are batshit crazy and also stupid, aren't they? He was lucky he didn't actually shoot him. Some people are just, well. As the Angels expanded, Campbell was getting a reputation for shutting down charters. He ousted most of the Simcoe County Charter when he got the feeling that members were hiding behind their patches rather than making the club stronger. He didn't like how several Simcoe County members weren't attending club functions and weren't even riding their bikes. A breaking point came when he was at the bar at a Simcoe club function, and a member's wife turned with a smile to her husband and said, "Tell them what happened the other day." The Simcoe County Angel started laughing, telling how he was getting beaten up in a fight. They're just so quiet. It's sweet. It's sweet they're sitting side by side, quietly and respectfully, and being good little birdies. He had me down, kicking the shit out of me. All I did was show him my patch, and he stopped. Campbell was blown away by how wrong this was. It was pretty much the opposite of the way things should be, and the man and his wife didn't have a clue. They should be ashamed, and yet they were proud in a profoundly stupid way. They somehow thought it was funny when the joke was on them. How could they expect anyone to respect the club if they hid behind the patch like this? I was embarrassed. That's what was protecting him, the Hell's Angel patch. He felt that it's the club that makes the man. It should be the man that makes the patch. I agree with him there wholeheartedly. Earn your fucking right and privilege in this world. Earn it, people of Earth. Some of us have earned it from decades of torture and suffering, but you know, once you earned it, it can't ever be stripped off you because you did the hard yards. Just saying. On a very tragic note, I adjure you to watch Dr. John Campbell's video. Japan has put out a report on the excess deaths occurring post-COVIDian vaccines. The more of them you have, the more likely you are to die from them. It's now a documented scientific fact. And he was looking very grim and distressed, and I feel very distressed by this also. So if you wish to remain educated on what is actually happening to our Homo sapiens sapiens species, it won't be just in Japan. They just did the scientific study. It'll be right across the globe, people of Earth. You need to watch that video. It's chilling and confronting. So, live each day as if it was a gift, because every day has always been a gift, even before the COVIDian madness. But now more than ever, honour the gift that life gives you and love the ones who love you truly. We never know when might be the last time we see people now. It's come down to that. In a sense, Campbell's philosophy is the outlaw biker version of John F. Kennedy's 1961 inaugural address, in which he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Unfortunately, in Campbell's view, the Angels lowered the brand after the mass patchover of 2000, in the same way that fake Angels patches had flooded England and degraded the brand back in the late 1960s. They feel, now I've got power and backing, so I can do anything. But Hell's Angels are smarter than that. Most Hell's Angels worldwide are comfortable in their own skin. The man, and presumably also his wife, wasn't smiling when his charter was shut down and he could no longer take refuge behind a Hell's Angels patch. Campbell was in Amsterdam in 2005, preparing to travel on to Barcelona and Benidorm, never heard of Benidorm, on the Spanish Riviera for a world run. He was at the Amsterdam airport with a Dutch member named Harry when Harry got a telephone call. Damn it, my tea's cold. Fuck, the Amsterdam clubhouse just burned down, Harry said. Campbell felt his stomach drop. What you doing, Kermie boy? What you doing? You being a good birdie? What you sitting alone in your room? Come to the cabaret. All right. Campbell felt his stomach drop. What? It couldn't have, Campbell replied, thinking, I was just there last night. It was intact. Campbell's mind flashed back to how he had been smoking at the clubhouse bar. Could he have accidentally caused the fire with a cigarette ash or butt? It was all wood. I think I just burned it down, Campbell announced. He didn't consider hiding his suspicion that he was to blame. It turned out I was wrong. It was a wiring problem. We found out that in a day or two. I've never ever lied to a brother. Never have, never would. I really love him for that. I abhor liars. Worst fucking slithering vermin that ever slunked across the face of this earth are liars. Second worst only two. Cowards. Right. The Benidorm get-together was in an ancient castle close to cabins owned by Spanish Hells Angels. Each morning, artists would go onto the beach and build elaborate sand castles, often with religious themes. It was in Spain that Campbell met Hells Angels from the San Bernardino or Purdue charter east of Los Angeles. San Bernardino is home to two American exports that have become fixtures around the globe. The world's first McDonald's restaurant and the Hells Angels' mother or original charter, formed back in 1948. Campbell told a half-dozen Purdue members a joke that, when he had shared it with When he had shared it with Andre Wattiel of the Ontario Hells Angels, had almost made Wattiel physically sick. It went something like this. Trigger warning, by the way, it's quite explicit. What you doing, Cammy boy? So I'm screwing my buddy up the ass, and he gives my dick a tug, and then he turns around and kisses me on the lips, the faggot. The Burdu Angels proved to have stronger stomachs than Wattiel. One of them fell off his stool. He was laughing so hard. It was on the Spanish Riviera. I'm trying to work out why it's funny. I guess it's good that I'm naive, isn't it? Let me read that through again. It implies that he had no guts or something. I can't quite figure it out. Don't enlighten me. I don't want to know. But it came up in my memories this morning on Facebook. Just little favourite clips of, what's her name? Miriam Margolyes, I think. She's a Jewish comic and actor. Margolyes. And she's a lesbian, and she's delightful and witty and funny, but she can be a bit fucking crass. So I'm watching it, you know, I've kept it, preserved it on my page, you know, it comes up in the daily memories, because it was hilarious, so I kept it. And I reshared it today on Facebook, but it was hilarious. She was describing how when she met Laurence Olivier, and very cheekily, because she's a little old lady like me now, you know, she said, I have to tell you, she said, when I met him, I creamed my knickers. And the other people, it was Graham Hancock show, I think it was, something like that. Anyway, the look on their faces, and the other actors that were sitting there, you know, the other celebrities were, and then the I think it was Posh Spice. What's her real name? I've forgotten. Very dryly, she looks at her and she says, oh yes, I know how that goes. And it was just brilliant how they played along with her. But she came out with some real doozies, and they were quite earthy and ribald and kind of hilarious. And the old Jewish joke, you know, the other thing she said was, well, there I was walking, riding my bike, she said, this was before I became a lesbian, you understand, when I was at university. Oh, Miriam Margolyes is her name, Miriam. Anyway, and I'm laughing because I knew what was kind of coming, because, well, I've seen it before, but, you know, she says, I see this handsome American soldier sitting in this Jeep, and I don't know what came over me. It was just a kind of a madness. I said to her, come back to my college and I'll suck you off. And of course, the other celebrities, they all go insane. It's not Graham Hancock. Graham Hancock is that wonderful man that wrote that book about the apocalypse, ancient apocalypse and things like that. Oh, no, anyway. I'm mixing up all the names today, aren't I? By the gods. Anyway, it was delightful. And then she looks at them and all seriously, and she says, well, I thought I was being a good girl because I didn't invite him for intercourse. And then the other actor goes, a stranger you just met in the street sitting in a Jeep, you didn't offer him intercourse, so you were a good girl, but you sucked him off. And so he gets up, pretends to walk away, and comes back, and they're all waiting. And he said, in his American accent, I think it was me. It was just so dry, and it was just so clever. Anyway, Google it, Miriam Margolyes. And I can't think of the show. He's an English TV show host. I think it is. Hancock was the surname. But anyway, different Hancock. Anyway, you had to be there. But I sat there because I remember her saying in an interview another time, she said, all good Jewish women, we never have intercourse. We give fellatio instead, because then you're not really having sex, you understand? And that was her logic. It must be a British thing. I don't quite get the logic. But anyway, when she said that, I laughed so much. I fell off the couch. I was like, oh, dear goddess. She says, yes, yes, yes. If you're down on your knees, you're not actually having sex. But then she goes, but then I became a lesbian. I'm like, let's not put that in a frame of reference, how you work that out. But anyway, she was so cute in this interview, like in the show. It was before I worked it all out, you understand. It took quite some doing. And she's just all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and acting all innocent, but knowing that she's being very, very naughty. Naughty indeed. Anyway, you just kind of have to laugh. I've never been like that. I'm far too prudish. Far, far too prudish. When I am a bit naughty, I just burst out laughing. I can't take it seriously. Never been able to take sex seriously. It's just a body function. Sometimes a very satisfying one if you've got the right lover and the right vibe and everything's happening the right way. But anyway, where were we? It was on the Spanish Riviera that Campbell learned his cousin Sean Campbell had recently got his Angels patch back home at the waterfront property known as Howe's Half Acre. Campbell couldn't understand why he hadn't been told in advance that he could attend. Not long afterwards, he knocked on the door of the Spanish motel room. Just checking on my birdie boys. Oh, you're over in your own cage now, Cammy. They seem to be getting along today. He was wanting to kill him the other day. Didn't trust him one iota. He must be Are you in a happy mood, my boy? Oh, there you are. Are you a beautiful boy? Yes. You're a happy boy. You're the happy Cammy boy. Yes, you are. Happy Cammy boy. Happy Cammy boy. Right, sorry, we'll start that sentence again. Not long afterwards, he knocked on the door of the Spanish motel room where Sean was staying. When the door swung open, Campbell punched Sean quick and hard. I fucking gave him one right on the side of the head. He fell. When Sean got back on his feet, Campbell said, "Congratulations," and the cousins laughed and shook hands as if the non-invitation and the hard left had never happened. He's a fighter. He's been there before. Arriving in Spain with Campbell was an Oshawa prospect known as Sims. If Sims looked nervous surrounded by 1,500 Hells Angels from around the globe at the World Run in Spain, it was totally understandable. Sims was black, while the Hells Angels were close to all white, like many posh golf and country clubs. California Hells Angels had already told Canadians, in effect, send him here and we'll kill him. It's not very nice, is it? Not nice at all. The downtown Toronto charter had an Asian member who worked on their computers and always seemed to be taking courses. There were a few other members at the World Run who looked black but whose clubs maintained they were really Hispanic or some other non-black colouring that was okay with the Angels. The English were also pushing to get a black man accepted as a full member of the club. The guys in England must have loved the guy. We loved Simsy. We fought for it. But it's just a passionate subject. It gets Hells Angels yelling at other Hells Angels at important meetings. The old guard, including Barger, simply wouldn't hear of admitting black members, saying the topic was closed and they didn't want to hear it reopened. Well, shame on you, Sonny Barger. You've gone down in my estimation. I hate racists. When they returned to Canada, Sims was told they would have to leave. Everyone that met him thought the world of him. He's a great guy. Not too far from the Toronto Angels downtown clubhouse on Eastern Avenue in Riverdale was a ragtag group of bandidos who gathered occasionally in the basement of a Greek restaurant. The Bandidos Motorcycle Club had absorbed the rock machine of Quebec into their ranks, also inheriting their drug turf war with the Hells Angels in downtown Montreal. In the Texas Gulf, where they began, the Bandidos were a serious club, and several of their members had high-paying, demanding jobs in the oil industry. Their new counterparts in Toronto, however, were a pale, sad imitation. The newly formed Toronto Bandidos defiantly called themselves the No Surrender Crew, borrowing the name from a faction of the Irish Republican Army. My boys are alright, my boys are alright. Mama T's alright and my boys are alright. We're all alright. We're alive against all the odds. Cooking on gas. So, it is what it is, people of Earth. Not looking forward to going out in this cold and rain and misery. But I do really enjoy my 2 weekly debriefs with my psychiatrist. So I'm looking forward to seeing him, but I'm just not looking forward to the shitty weather today. Oh well. Their leader was John Boxer Muscadier, a small-town factory worker on disability leave who had been an outlaw biker for less than a decade. He inherited the presidency from Wayne Weiner Calistine when Calistine was briefly sent to prison on an assortment of drug charges. Now, Boxer was scrambling to hold together a club of misfits who could never hope for Angels membership. Oh, my babies are eating. Good boys. It was a struggle for Boxer to get Canadian members of his motorcycle club to actually ride motorcycles. This mystified Campbell. Motorcycles are the key. The MC stands for something. Campbell was impressed by the loyalty Boxer displayed towards his clubmates, although it was clearly misplaced, especially with Calistine. There were plenty of stories about Calistine, few of them flattering. He had been punched out by a lesbian at a sleazy London, Ontario bar, crashed a gay pride parade with a collection of fellow white supremacists, and threatened to shoot a disc jockey at a party for playing non-white dance music. He was considered too unstable to reason with or threaten. A guy like him, you have to kill. The Bandidos were just an obnoxious presence in Riverdale, mouthing off and acting tough with friends of the Angels. They were annoying enough that the downtown Angels called a meeting with the Bandidos to rein them in. It was held in the basement of the Bandidos' usual Greek restaurant, and Campbell and other Angels were decidedly unimpressed. Campbell didn't pack a gun, as they just didn't seem worth the effort. They looked like drug addicts. I thought, why are we having this meeting? They're not bikers. You singing, Kermie? Singing to the mama? Okay. He won't perform for the mama. It's got to happen spontaneously or not at all, people of Earth. That's how Kermie rolls. The Ontario Hells Angels couldn't help but wonder what would happen if the Americans at the top level of the Bandidos could see them. They'd be fairly disgusted, I would think. I used to tell people they won't last very long because they're drug addicts. I told the guys, they'll implode. The Canadian Bandidos became more than a mild irritant when they cozied up to the Outlaws. The two clubs tried a show of force at the London, Ontario motorcycle show at the Western Fair, organised by Larry Pooler, Vice President of the Downtown Toronto Charter of the Hells Angels. Ian Watson of the Angels was in a booth when the Bandidos showed up and started taking photos. Hey, fuckhead, take a picture of this, Campbell said. The Bandidos smiled. Take a picture of me? The Bandidos stopped smiling. You're a fucking coward, Campbell continued. The cops were there now, but Campbell didn't stop trying to goad them into violence. Hey, musclehead, you want a problem with me? I'm the real deal. The Bandido just seemed to want out of the building now. Don't worry about getting thrown in jail, Campbell heckled, because I'll make sure we get bunked together. A police officer was genuinely nervous now. There's families here. There's children here. I'm asking you to stop. Okay, but they started it. Grown men acting like bloody children. Jesus. Sometimes I'm glad I had a really violent childhood with all my little friends and we bet the shit out of each other. We just outgrew it. Grew up to be reasonably nice women. Some of them even successful. Got to work your shit out. Get it out of your system early in the piece, people of Earth. But I think it's different for men, isn't it? It's all that testosterone. Anyway, there's a motorcycle tradition in Port Dover, a fishing town on the shore of Lake Erie, a couple of hours' drive southwest of Toronto. Every Friday the 13th, from spring to fall, outlaw bikers and far more bikers of the non-outlaw persuasion congregate here. I just had a flashback, so I'm laughing my ass off. I had a Canadian friend on Pal Talk. His nickname was One Deep Voice, and all the ladies creamed their knickers just at the sound of his voice, you understand. We never got to see him. Maybe it was even a fake voiceover, you wouldn't know. I'm wondering if it was a woman pretending to be a man, because you can do anything on the internet, even back in those days. Where did he live? I can't remember. It was somewhere in Canada. I think he said that if I came to Canada, he'd take me to the Niagara Falls. So he must have lived somewhere near the Niagara Falls, like that side of town, that side of the border. But anyway, I did not have cyber sex, you understand, but there was a lot of flirting that went on, and it was quite comical at times. Sometimes I'd get off the internet and I'd just laugh and laugh and laugh. It was just mad, the whole thing. But yes, one deep voice. I still have to laugh. Sorry, but it was fun. I doubt that that person watches my videos. And if they do, it's the truth. It's the truth, people of Earth. There was another Canadian who was quite a good friend to me, actually. I'm trying to think what his nickname was. His name was Larry, his real name. He was a Facebook friend for quite some time. Then just randomly, I don't remember even having an argument or a fight with him. Just dropped off the perch. And we'd been friends on both Pal Talk and Facebook for quite some years. Then I had another friend, he was American. Turned out, eventually he confided in me, that he was Jewish. But he was an amazing man, actually. His nickname was Arcan. He was very wise, and he was a psychologist, I think, by profession, if I remember correctly. He had very serious chronic health issues, and he was often depressed and beaten down by his very bad health. And I get it, because I had chronic health issues all my life too. So we were kind of like two little twins sitting in his room in Pal Talk, and people would come in and they used to really bully me. It was vicious, really vicious. And then I'd be like, okay, will you let me at them? He went, yeah, they deserve it. They've come in and already been rude to you. Go for it, psychedelic dreamer. And I'd just eviscerate them verbally, this all in text, because I didn't have a mic in the day. And I was such a bitch dreamer. I'd be like, mate, I haven't even warmed up yet. And afterwards he'd say, I let you have it because they've been vicious to you for years, and in this room you're safe, and I'll let you have your final word. And he said, by the gods, dreamer, he said, you're so articulate and witty. He said, I've been crying here laughing at all the things you've said to them. I seem to have lost that knack now, because this was many years ago. We're talking 20 years ago now. Is it 20 years ago? Pretty much. 15, 20 years. I've lost it. I've lost the art. It's an art. finely honed art. But but we had fun in his room, and we learnt a lot. I learnt a lot from him, actually. He was a luminous teacher. He was actually a fine and decent man. Never once in all those years of being on Power Talk did he ever get sleazy or hit on me. And occasionally, just to test him a little bit, I'd act a little bit flirtatious, and he'd go all coy. And he was a very unusual character, but a lovely, lovely man. Very lovely. He'd heard all about, we have a biscuit here called Tim Tams, and they're wafers with like a cream centre, chocolate wafers, and then they're coated in chocolate. And he kind of dropped a bit of a hint. He says, psychedelic dreamer, he says, I've never ever in my life tasted Tim Tams biscuits, and I'm really curious what they taste like. So I sent him a food parcel of Tim Tams, a little jar of Vegemite, which is an Australian thing, and what else did I didn't have much money. I was desperately poor in those days, but I just cobbled together a few real Australian things that he would not be able to get in America, and I sent it to him, and he was so thrilled, as if I'd given him $1 million. He was a lovely man, really lovely man. That's right, he lived in the Rocky Mountains, high up in the mountains. Forgotten what the name of the town was or the city was. But yeah, lovely man. So you see, I have had wonderful friends and lovely men in my life over the years, and they're not forgotten. They're not forgotten. I don't forget good, kind people. Right. Where were we? Floating off with the psychedelic dreamer. Now listen, there'll be no fighting. There'll be no fighting, Mr. Kermie. Oh my boy, my little boy, my little sweetheart. Oh, straight for him he goes. Oh, it's been quite vicious over here. Might have to separate them. But I wouldn't get back up on that perch if I were you. He's gunning for you. Yeah, you come out here. Come and fly out here with Mama. He's going to the other end of the perch. And, yep. He's sidling, getting closer to Kermie. Don't bow. Just don't, alright? He was getting along with you for a while, but he's over it now. How about this one? My favourite. Little boy listens at this. So wouldn't it be wonderful if he actually mimicked it and he learnt that melody? Iris, baby girls, baby boys. Right, I'll start from the top because I drifted, people of Earth. There's a motorcycle tradition in Port Dover, a fishing town on the shore of Lake Erie, a couple of hours drive southwest of Toronto. Every Friday the 13th, from spring to fall, outlaw bikers and far more bikers of the non-outlaw persuasion congregate here in a middle-aged sea of black leather and chrome. The Ontario Bandidos showed up wearing their fat Mexican crests and trying to affect swaggers. Doesn't think very much of them, does he? Hasn't actually been all that complimentary of them. The very sight of them was too much for a Quebec Hells Angel who approached them. The Quebec guy just leaned over and said something. They were gone within minutes. Hells Angels were the initial suspects when the bodies of Musketeer and 7 other Bandido members and supporters were found in April 2006 in vehicles abandoned by a farmer's field about a 10-minute drive from Celestine's farm. They had all been shot, and the initial suspicion was that it must be the result of a battle over drug turf. A Hells Angel spokesperson ridiculed the suggestion, implying that the Bandidos had no turf worth taking. The story eventually emerged that the 8 bikers had been murdered by fellow members, including Boxer's supposed friend Celestine. Despite his low opinion of the Bandidos, Campbell was impressed by accounts of Boxer's final moments and how he had stuck up for a Jewish prospect, Jamie Goldberg Flunts, to Celestine. Campbell and Evelyn had met Flunts once at a party years before and considered him a good guy. Boxer's defence of a Jewish brother enraged Nazi-loving Celestine. Then Boxer had the balls to laugh in Celestine's face as he looked into a loaded gun an instant before Celestine pulled the trigger. Campbell thought back to how, after Jimmy Brockman had shot him outside the Royal Hotel in Whitby, he had suddenly become calm and dared Brockman to pull the trigger again. Perhaps Boxer felt the same way in his final seconds of life. I have respect for the guy, Boxer Musketeer, just for how he went out. Campbell found there was something naive and yet familiar about how Boxer Musketeer was blinded by talk of brotherhood from the mouths of men like Celestine, who ultimately betrayed him. What do you expect from Nazis? They always betray you, 'cause they're dogs. You heard it from my lips, treacherous, lowlife, scum, dogs. However, I've met a few neo-Nazis in my time, and were they intrigued, and surprisingly, even though they know I'm Jewish, treated me with utmost honour and respect, even making me a nice cup of tea and offering to do my tattoo. I was sitting in his caravan, he was a friend of my ex, Courtney, and he was busy tattooing Skatey with a very ugly tattoo, which was a picture of a demon. It was a very ugly demon. It looked more like a cartoon character than an actual scary looking demon. Anyway, this neo-Nazi bloke, he had a soft spot for me. It was a bit odd. A bit odd, people of Earth. It was very kind to me. Very kind. Kept asking me, "Are you really Jewish?" "Yes, I'm really Jewish." "You don't look Jewish." "Doesn't matter what I look like. What do Jews look like? We come from all over the world." "I'm really Jewish." "I don't think you're really Jewish." "You want to fight me on whether I'm really Jewish or not?" "Tanya," he says, "you're an amazing woman." Anyway, we're sitting in his caravan. He's, before he started tattooing Skatey, Courtney was there too, we were all there together. And Courtney was a bit scared of him on some level. He was acting a bit kind of uncomfortable. Maybe he picked up that the guy had the hots for me, And he says to me, this man, I won't name him because I don't know if he watches my videos or it doesn't matter. He was very kind to me and respectful. Anyway, he looks at me and he says, I'm going to fuck you when you finish with Courtney. I just threw my head back and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. Are you, darling? I said. You've got big plans. Courtney's like, don't, Tanya, just don't. And I went, I don't think that will be happening, my love. Oh, why is that? He says. Well, I says, haven't you got a partner waiting in the house over there? Yeah, but that doesn't bother me. It bothers me. Number one, I said. Number two, this Jewish girl does not have sex with Nazis. I just stared at him. And he threw his head back and he laughed too. And he says, woman, you've got style. You've got courage. I never met anyone like you. I went, you probably never will meet anyone like me ever again either. Why is that, Tanya? I said, because I'm a bit fucking crazy. Would you like a cup of tea, Tanya? I said, I'm dying for a cup of tea. He goes out to the house, says something to his missus. She tells him to fuck off because she's on to him. Comes back, serves me the most beautiful cup of tea with a nice slice of cake. And I looked at him and I said, I won't say his name, I said, thank you so much. That's very hospitable of you. Very kind. Meanwhile, I'm freaking out looking at his caravan. There's swastikas, wall-to-wall swastikas all over the caravan. I said, if the cops raided this place, you'd go to jail just for the Swazies alone. He says, how does it make you feel, Tanya? I said, sick to my core. And to be honest, a little bit angry. He says, yeah, I can see that. He says, oh, this is just for show, He says, I became a neo in jail. They were converting everyone to neo-Nazism. Were they? I said. He went, yeah, it's what they do. They get you in there and straight away you're now a Nazi. He said, other than that, you don't survive, you understand? I just stared at him. Anyway, to prove to me that he was a real deal, he pulled down his lip and he had some, just notice how swollen my lips look. That'll be from the CPAP. Anyway, he had tattooed on the inside of his mouth in German, some Nazi epithet. I just looked at him and I went, he goes, you think I'm dumb, don't you? And I went, no, I just think you're brainwashed. I'm sorry for you, mate. I really am. Courtney's like, don't tell me, don't get yourselves killed. Anyway, he looked at me in my face and he says to me, I think I love you. I said, you're just fascinated because I represent the enemy. Anyway, he looks at me, this man, and he says, have you ever done a tattoo on anyone? I said, no, I've got no clue how to do it. I said, but I'm very fascinated to watch you and learn from you how it's done. I said, I've never seen a tattoo being done before. And that's what he did in his little house and backyard. His little caravan was tattooing. I want to give you a tattoo, Tanya. I'd already had this design, that I wanted. since 2012, my friend gave me permission to have that use as logo for our Jewish congregation. I said, oh, I'd love you to do my tattoo. I said, but can't allow that. Why not? I said, a Jewish woman getting a tattoo from a neo-Nazi, there is a history, darling. We can't be going there ever again. Yes, he said. Yes, I understand. They tattooed all the Jews in Auschwitz. Yes, I said. No Nazi gets to tattoo me. You understand. I said, I will get a tattoo though. And I'll do it for free. I'll do it for you now. And I laughed and I said, what are you going to do it in? Dot to dot swastikas and tiny little swazies? He said, how'd you know? I said, I'm on to you. And we laughed, and Courtney's like scratching his head like, fuck, you know. He said, I did that once, you know. I said, what did you do? He said, I had this Kiwi guy come in and he wanted this tattoo of something. I can't remember what it was now. He said, at the bottom of the tattoo, I put a little tiny, tiny, tiny shape of Australia. I said, see, I can see your sense of humour that you would do something like that. I said, you're not inking me, brother. He says, okay. He says, but would you like to help me out, Tanya? Help you out, I said. Yeah, we're going to do Skatey's tattoo today. He says, would you like to do the outline? What's an outline? I said. He says, well, before you do the tattoo, it's just like colouring in, like when you're a kid colouring in on this blue copy paper. He said, you make a transfer is the word. And he said, and you just follow the design and then I slap it on and then I'll tattoo following the lines. I said, but what if I make a mess of it and go over the lines? And I said, Skatey, who was also a neo-Nazi, by the way, Skatey will fucking kill me if I fuck up his tattoo. Skatey, who didn't really like me that much, went, yeah, I would actually. Anyway, this guy shoots him a look. And he went, nothing like that will happen to you, Tanya. I'll make damn sure of that. And even Skatey's sitting on the couch kind of going a bit pale, withering a little bit. What's going on here, he says. I hate that bitch. And Courtney's like, and he went, oh, no. He says, she's quite wonderful and she's going to make your tattoo. Some twisted bikey logic doesn't make sense to me, but I thought, oh, well, why not? I'm sitting around there drinking tea or salubrious in this weird setup with Swazzies staring down at me, handling my own shit. I'll make a tattoo for him. So I sat there and I drew the outline, you know. And I did go over, I did mess it up in a couple of spots. And I'm muttering to myself, because I'm also a witch and a shaman, about drawing an outline of a demon to be tattooed on Skatey. And I thought about it. I thought it's his choice, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy that a Jewish witch is outlining a demon to slap on him permanently in ink. And even that tattooist got the joke. He's looking at me and nodding. He went, he's got demons in him, all right. And I went, yes, I'm well aware of that. What are you going to do about it, Tanya? Not my monkey, not my circus. He invited those demons in and they're his now. If he wants to get rid of them, he won't be getting rid of them by tattooing them on his arm like a gimp. And he laughed and laughed and laughed. And by this stage, Skatey's a bit, you know, under the weather. And he went, you're not supposed to be pissed when you get tattooed, Skatey. And Skatey's going, I don't fucking care. Anyway, so here's the funny thing. I do the outline, and I said it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my whole life, but it couldn't happen to a better guy than Skatey. And the tattooist guy, the Neo, laughs, and he says, you see, Tanya, he said, you really understand duality. You've got a great sense of humour. I said, mate, if I didn't understand duality and I didn't have a great sense of the absurd and of humour, I wouldn't be alive to be sitting here in your fucking caravan. And I look around for effect. Right now. He said, yeah, he says, you've got balls, Tanya. Well, the only reason I had balls was because Skatey, although he hated me, would not have let any harm come to me because Courtney was there. And Courtney, although he was a bit ambivalent too, we were still getting along like peas and potatoes at that point in time. So actually, even when we broke up, we didn't even fight. He just drifted like a tumbleweed, people of Earth. Actually, on some level, they were both scared of me. They'd pushed me too far, you understand. But anyway, so I do the outline. He slaps it on Skatey's upper arm. I'm looking at Skatey. Skatey's out of his mind by this stage. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what am I doing with these gronking fucking idiots? But I thought, well, I'm learning about human nature, and I'm learning a lot, because at that stage in my life, you know, I was still very green about the world. Can you believe it? Very, very green. Anyway, the tattooist was doing all the outline, doing everything, you know. And he gets to a point and he looks at me and he went, I found your mistake. I went, I hope you remedied it, because I don't want to die tonight. He says, when do you want to die, Tanya? I said, oh, maybe tomorrow, but not tonight. Tonight I'm in a good mood. He says, you know, I see that in you. I see that in you, that you've befriended death. I went, oh, really? You're the second person to say that. Who was the other person? I said, a former Hells Angel who was part Cherokee and part Welsh. He said, yes, I see that in you. I think that's why I love you so much. You have integrated life and death. There's not many people like you, Tanya Aarons. I said, no, you had to have walked the walk and lived it and outlived it. Yes, he said. So he carries on. Skatey's got this ugly demon on his arm. So you feel better now, Skatey? Yes, I've achieved today. I'm very happy. And the tattooing guy just looked at me. We both scratched our heads. Anyway, I was true to my word. I did get my tattoo quite some years after that event. But, wow, it was the only one, Kano, because I never have enough money to spend money on extravagant embellishments. It is what it is. But, oh yes. So towards the end of my relationship with Courtney, you know, I told you the story before in another video, how he threatened me with a samurai sword. And when that didn't work, he says, I'm going to, I don't want to say his name, but probably describing the inside lip being tattooed. It's an identifier anyway. so I'll say his first name. He said, I'm going to ring up Noel, and Noel's going to come and kill you. And I'm in a boiling rage because of the threat with a samurai sword that nearly got him killed, by the way. And I'm just sitting there, boiling and boiling. And even Courtney kept looking at me, don't do it, Tanya, don't do it. So he says, I'm ringing Noel now. Noel's going to come and get you, Tanya. Get me. Define, get me. He said, oh, he's going to kill you. He's going to rape you and he's going to kill you. I said, rape me, is he? Rape me and kill me. And I'm like, and Courtney's like, don't, Tanya, don't. I beg you, don't. Because he'd hit my last nerve, the kill switch. So I said, get on the phone right now. Go on, get on the phone. Ring Noel. Get him over. Get his ass over here. He's going to love this. And Courtney literally went like this. Cowering like a whipped dog. I said, bring him over. He's going to love it. Bring him over. And Skatey looks at me and goes, whatever do you mean? I said, remember when you were getting your demon tattoo that I drew for you, by the way? Yeah. He offered to fuck me. He meant it as a compliment. He wasn't offering to rape me. He was offering consensual sex with this Jewish girl. And Courtney was like, cringing. I said, bring him over. Let's see what he wants to say about this. You threatening me with one of your neo-Nazi mates? Wow, I said, you've chosen the wrong guy. He's not going to do any of that. He loves me. What? He'd forgotten. Well, because most of the time when he was getting his tattoo, he wasn't there, you understand. He'd forgotten. But Courtney hadn't forgotten. Courtney looks at him and said, that's right. He loves her. He would not hurt a hair on her head. You couldn't pay him to hurt her. He absolutely adores that bitch. I put my arms up. I said, what did I do to deserve that? He says, I don't fucking know, Tanya. I don't fucking understand it myself. Anyway, I got up and I walked out. I said, I'm going home now. You coming with me, Courtney? Get in the car, wound down my window. Get in here or else. Because I'd driven him over there. He ran like a rabbit, jumped in my car, and I looked at him. I said, what was all that about, actually? Don't ever fucking threaten me. Ever again. Do you understand? Yes, Tanya. It's just the drugs talking, Tanya. I said, you don't know how close I came to losing my shit complete. He said, I do know. That's why I begged you not to. I said, you prioritised that stinking, drug-fucked, gronking moron over me. Anyway, I didn't break up with him straight away. Isn't that weird? Probably a delayed trauma response. Still stayed with him for a few months after that. It was him that drifted. Found a new piece of ass, you know. Denied it, but that's when they drift. So, anyway, on that note, there's not too many Jewish women have sat in a very dangerous, threatening, drug fucked, although the tattoo guy wasn't on drugs at that point in time. He was quite clear-headed. But, you know, with people like that, and not only survived it, but won hearts and minds over too. Respect is everything. Everything, people of Earth. Basic courtesy and respect. So when I was being abused by fellow Jews over the years, which happened frequently, by the way, because of this Slavic face, I would actually throw that in their face and say, do you know, I once sat in a caravan of a neo-Nazi tattooist who treated me with more respect and honour and integrity and decency than you have just now, and even made me a nice cup of tea. And then I threw my head back and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed, because it's insane to the uninitiated. It's ridiculous, it's absurdist, it's dark, it's evil, it's life-threatening, it's odd. But that man loved me. He did. When they tried to threaten me with him, they backed down real fast when I said, no, I wanted to. What? How did he put it, Courtney? He wanted to fuck you, Tanya. Ah, yes, I said. That's right. He wanted to fuck me. Consensually. Scaly just about burst into tears with the shock and the horror of it. Wow. So excuse me when I meet people who think they're tough but are actually pissweak and losers and gronks and have no honour. If I can't actually respect them, but I, you know, treat everyone the way they treat me. If you're civil and you're respectful and you're courteous to me, I'm civil and respectful and courteous back. But if I think you're a low-level entity, you've got no show and a dog show, people of Earth. Right, where were we? Campbell found about being ultimately betrayed by the neo-Nazi Calistine. I've been excessive in my loyalty to people. Look at Boxer. I identify with him because of the blind loyalty. So many times I've had that. I don't think that Boxer had that meanness in him that I have. He was a romantic, wanted it to be the way he had imagined. I wanted it to be the way I pictured it in my mind. It never is. In 2006, Campbell packed for a trip to Costa Rica with a friend named Howie, who was confined to a wheelchair. It was intended as a pleasure trip. I planned 10 days. I wasn't even gone 10 hours. He could tell there were problems as soon as he got to the customs counter at San Jose. She's typing and looking at me, looks at the screen again. I said to Howie, something's up. She called a guy over. The guy said, stand here. Campbell and his friend waited for the next 90 minutes until a non-smiling man approached him. He said, come with me. He had 10 guys with him. He said, you're not welcome in my country. 3 times. I didn't ask him why. The man said Campbell would be flying back to Canada on the same aircraft that had brought him to Costa Rica. Rain was falling as he was marched out to the jet, and Campbell was handed a plain umbrella. At least I'll get a souvenir, he thought. An official gruffly demanded the return of the umbrella when they reached the aircraft. They put me by one of those marshals. He was reading and farting all the way back. In Toronto, a customs worker asked Campbell, "Where are you coming from?" "Costa Rica." "How long were you there?" "About an hour and a half." "What?" "Yeah, I didn't like it there." "What?" "Go stand over there." The next official Campbell spoke with was interested in his luggage. He went inside an office, and when he emerged, he said, "You didn't tell me you were a Hell's Angel." "It took me 5 days to get my luggage back." Jesus. So I do have a fair bit of empathy for people who are outlaw bikers, because there's a lot of discrimination that goes on. Some of it's understandable, you know, with the drug running and the crime. But there's a lot of people that aren't actually doing anything wrong, but they get harassed and persecuted. It's just foul, quite frankly. But look at our world now, the post-COVIDian epoch. All those excess deaths registered in Japan. Life and death, people of Earth, is a great equaliser. Campbell had been thinking hard about switching to the Nanaimo BC Charter of the Angels. The charter had pre-approved his membership, and Campbell had lined up a job there, driving a truck. There was plenty to like about the move, from the charter's beautiful wood-lined bar to Vancouver Island's spectacular natural beauty. On the other hand, it was tough to think of being on the other side of the country from Janice and Kylie and the grandkids. Campbell sensed something was odd when he rode to BC in 2006 for an anniversary party of the Haney Charter. Haney is a particularly serious charter, and their secluded clubhouse in the woods is nicknamed the House of Pain. When you go there, you go to party. Court records would later reveal that Campbell was subjected to a mud test, or given rough hazing-like treatment by charter members. New members in BC, by BC they mean British Columbia, I believe, are often mud tested or challenged physically. Sometimes they're beaten. Sometimes those beatings come from members wearing rings. Court records show that Campbell was physically shunned during his Haney visit. 2 members in particular repeatedly walked away from him. Finally, he confronted them individually with words along the lines of, "What's the problem? If there's a problem, get it the fuck on." The members replied with something like, "We're sick of new guys from Ontario coming out to parties talking like they've been in the club for 15 years. "I'm not a new guy," Campbell replied. "I've been around for 40 years. If there's a problem, let's get it the fuck on." Instead, it was smoothed over. Nothing more came of it during that visit. But things weren't resolved between BC and Ontario Angels either. As Campbell rode back to Ontario, tensions in the club remained close to the surface, ready to explode. And we'll finish there for the day. I've had quite a trip down memory lane. It was weird, it was threatening, it was chilling, it was horoscopes, beyond horoscopes. But ironically, as often happens in my life, the Holy One and all manifestations of holiness send me earth angels, sometimes in very strange spaces and places, and even representing ancient enemies, and they fall in love with me, which is odd, people of earth. I was just being with Courtney and hanging with them all, and there was no agenda. I didn't expect to be drawing an outline of a tattoo on anyone, certainly not one of a demon. So it's odd, but it's kind of comical when I look back on it now. I can see the flimsy whimsy behind it. There's a thread in my life, and golden thread. Every now and then it all starts to make perfect sense in amongst the unravelling and the berserker rampaging and the hobbit tossing and the wild shamanic dancing and all the sweetness and ugliness that ran concurrent to that. It's odd, people of earth, but it is what it is. Be back tomorrow with another chapter, and Goddess bless wherever you be. Hold true like glue, and remember, there is love out in the world. Accept nothing less than real, authentic, powerful love.